least at the Joe on Will Smith slapping Chrisrock at the Oscars. Let's see what JoeRogan thinks of that situation. Personally, I don't think Will Smith should not have done that.
Mild jokes ever.
It was pretty mild.
Jada Pinkett is bald. Apparently, I didn't know this. I shaved her head because she's suffering from alopecia.
Yeah, I didn't know this.
Yeah, she basically suffering from a disease, so she had to shave it.
G.I. Jane
G.I.
2.
Jane 2, looking forward to it. Very mild. Just laughed. And even said, come on, that was nice. And then Will Smith initially laughs.
Yes.
But it looked like Jada was upset. Walks on stage and smacks Chris Rock in the face at the Oscars. And then says, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. That was a G.I. Jane joke.
Name out your fucking mouth. Yes.
And it's like his lips were quivering and he...
Like some movie scenes.
First of all, of what's wrong with the glorification of just being able to go up to someone and smack them. So
I'm going to disagree
weird.
with you here.
Please
I don't
do.
think it should
What
be
is your
glorified.
point?
I want to let you.
Before
I want
my
you
take.
to finish though.
Well, no, you said you were going to disagree with me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well,
Yes, I
I
comment.
don't actually think that there's any glorification of violence. Free capability on Will's part.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
Maybe he's not
for one,
telling them to do that. It's just kind of impulsiveness.
I think that whatever Will did, he did it, and he was like, whatever comes with it, I'll have to own up to it.
I don't think he was thinking that far ahead at all.
Maybe he wasn't, but
I
maybe
think
he's
he was
like,
being
in this
emotionally
moment.
fragile. Do when you know there's no consequences.
I
So
don't
you're
think,
hitting
but
a
here's
very
the thing.
small
I'm going to say
person.
that I don't know that
Rogan
he
is
thinks that
thinking
there's
too
now,
much.
in terms of
It's
them
obviously
and
the wrong
their
thing to
physical
do.
differences and capability of combat, let's say, yes.
There's no consequences.
But I'm saying, but there's no consequences
I
in
mean,
getting out.
have some
Yeah, but he was
backlash.
thinking about
Also,
I think he was acting
You mean
impulsively.
simply in terms, if you hit anybody for any reason in public at this point, all of the powers of law that be, especially depending on who you are, and what smashing you to
coming down
death
to sit on
until you're penniless, bankrupt, and everyone
but
hates
that's
you.
not gonna stop. That's not going to happen here. He didn't beat the shit out of him. He didn't harm him.
But,
He
I mean,
smacked him in the
but
face.
we live in a
slap.
system-
That's a pretty
But
hard
there's no
slap.
way. Stop. Well, there's no way Will Smith's going to become penniless from smacking Chris Rock.
You wouldn't think
he's
so.
extremely
he could be.
wealthy. Certainly didn't press charges. He wouldn't press charges, and he just accepted it.
I would say it
Just
should have
nice
been
of
handled
him.
in the back. He could have
could have
stood
done it in
up,
the back.
said something right on the spot.
But listen, no.
And not done
no,
anything
no,
about
no,
it,
no.
or
Chris
said it
Rock's
in the
doing his
back.
fucking job. There's a professional comedian whose job
Yes.
is to roast people. That's what he's doing.
Not about giving
Yeah, that's all
Will
was
Smith a
not that
pass or
harsh.
saying what he did was right. Felt that it was that egregious
He should
of
probably
a
talk
remark,
first
and,
and then-
I agree with you. Chris Rock's a comedian, supposed to
Well,
be
entertainer.
entertainers.
There you go.
Often crack jokes that either that they do themselves, highly doubt that they don't know each other at this point, being in Hollywood for as long as they have. We'll do it personally. Speak to the person first.
Hear
So
all
the
the
is
things
that I
he's saying,
have
but they're not
personal
applicable.
information.
That was not an insult.
Fully
in
get
reference
it.
to a movie
I
where a
fully
lady
get
shaved
it.
her head.
I fully get it, but
Like
I'm
the
I'm
idea
just simply
that there's
saying
any justification whatsoever of him getting up there and
No.
smacking him in the
No,
face like
he didn't.
that.
He didn't need to go up there and smack him at all.
No.
If it's really that important to Jada, he should deal with it on a personal level and have a conversation with Chris
Yeah, this
before
will be a conversation
anything.
first.
Of course.
Because you have to give
Of
someone the
course.
opportunity. Because
They would agree.
one, Chris had malicious intent in what he had to say.
Well, how do you have malicious intent in a mild joke?
Tell
There's
me
no
about
malicious.
it.
No,
I'm
it's
saying
nonsense.
I don't agree
I'm
that he
telling
did.
you, dude, this is
Yeah,
all
the guy's
rational
impulsive.
thinking, emotionally fragile, and he acted on impulse, staggeringly
That's true.
stupid way.
I'll tell you something. Playfully, verbally sparring with my girlfriend.
Oh, boy.
And she did actually, it made her really uncomfortable. My girlfriend's like, I hope he doesn't, come up and
This
say
kind of a situation.
gonna happen.
You'll
And
probably confront the
he
guy
does.
then.
And I'm like, look, I know you don't mean anything by it, but X,
Okay.
Y, Z. Can we just have a simple conversation? And the guy's just like,
Yeah, good.
I don't
That's
wanna have
rational.
but
That's our human beings having some sort of a dispute.
malicious
Will
intent,
Smith was
especially
done.
in that position.
Doing some weird movie thing. It was like
Movie
he
thing.
was getting away with it as if
was
he was
like how
living
they
in a
movie scene.
fictional movie, wearing a tuxedo, to walk onto a stage in front of the world, biggest award shows on earth, smack a comedian for the
Oscars.
most mild joke, and
With
keep
anger,
my
yeah.
wife's name out of your fucking mouth. And everybody's just going to
It's probably
sit there
Thomas.
in the shit that you just took on the table. They all have to just sit there and look at that. That's what it's like. Live in this fake world of, you're protected by guards, you're driven by limos, you're on the red carpet,
most
crazy
powerful
life.
man.
And
agree.
he's so goddamn famous and
Among the
so
actors, yeah, he just
regular
won an
discourse
Oscar
and
or something.
interacted like he's a character in a movie.
Maybe so. In regards to Will, because I don't know the man. I never met him.
And what you know on
And
him is
especially
irrelevant.
a person like Will,
What he
elevated
did was
position
kind of wrong.
in society at large. And
You probably
you
confront the
are
guy
100% right in that
for slipping.
But here's what happened right afterwards. He won the Academy Award, then goes up and does a speech. The whole thing was so bizarre. And it made me think, like, how many other human beings could pull that off?
Not many.
Like if a man walked on stage and smacked a woman.
No, that would not fly.
Would not fly.
Women smacking women don't solve their issues with violence. You're supposed to in other ways. And, like, women, when women start feuding with one another and one of them finally says, that's it, they go to violence, sorry, you're out.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
just
there's
simply
plenty
because women
of world star hip-hop videos of women beating the fuck out of each other. You can find a lot of videos online pulling each other's hair.
Yes, there are exceptions, I will agree.
Rare instance where someone is so enormously famous and successful like Will Smith still allowed him to not just win the Academy Award, but also go up and accept it and give a speech after he assaulted a small comedian.
Should have ejected him from the show.
100% go about business as usual. First of all, it sets a terrible precedent.
Yes.
In so many different ways. It sets a terrible precedent for comedy clubs.
Yes.
Like, are people going to go on stage and smack the comedian?
I hope they try to smack Brendan or you. Well, I just want to see one Joe Rogan turning sidekick.
I don't necessarily think people are going to change their behavior, but dumb people might. We look up to actors.
Yes.
And the Academy Awards is supposed to be them in their most regal, their best behavior.
Yeah.
And to drop down to violence for something so innocuous.
You know, having a conversation with somebody over something that made my girlfriend uncomfortable was, to me, that was the way to approach it. Let me fuck you about it, then it's like, okay, right. Well, now that changes things.
Right. I know what you're saying, but in this case, we saw it. We see all the elements laid out. Chrisrock's joke was so mild.
I get it. And Will's allowed to take offense, but to jump up, slap him, and then throw the scene that he did is a completely different story. Chris, an opportunity to talk to him, and maybe even Jada, and just be like, look, tell him face to face and be like, yo, man, it really, hey, Jada, it really bugged you.
You're talking about two totally different things.
I get it.
We both agree with that.
But to me, it was a like 70s and 80s movie. He played Conan's dad in Conan the Barbarian. Like that badass motherfucker. You can be that guy. The approach has to be the same. There is no exception for you if you played Ali, or if you played Conan's dad, or if nobody's seen you play anything.
Long period of like emotional distress. Like that family's been public about all their issues, conversations that they had to have, open relationships, and they were openly mocked because of that. Like,
sit in it then. Sit in it then, because the public is mocking you for the thing that you brought to them.
Yeah, listen, I'm in agreement with you, 100%.
So putting stress into your life by publicizing and externalizing everything, which again says something. Why are you externalizing this shit?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like even when I told this story about, this fighter and I had beef, I ain't gonna say his name. I'm trying to live my life, even though I'm the war master, in some point of irrational, unnecessary conflict.
You're a man of honor and of like deep moral principles and ethics. You have a very rigid way you live your life with discipline. Nonsense.
You're right.
Where you're allowed to just go smack someone.
You're right.
That's an interesting conversation. We all know what not to do here. We probably confront them, pas don't embarrass in front of everyone. I guess I went a bit of them.